Hello, you beautiful people. So, today we got our final roundup of kit changes, and instead of giving you the same intro and explaining everything for the millionth time, let's just get straight into these changes, as I'm sure you know the drill here. Starting off, Evernight is looking to be in a pretty good place after the past few weeks, as she's received a lot of positive changes that helped boost her Casterized sub-DPS teams and her own personal contribution as a damage dealer as well. Now, as a result, I came into this week thinking she'd get some slight nerfs to adjust her a little more, as she is actually quite a lot stronger than people give her credit for. Dude, both her sub-DPS and main DPS teams are extremely strong at the moment, so it didn't surprise me that I ended up being right, as she got slight nerfs this week to her crit damage that she provides for the team. In the last week's update, she was buffed to give 30% of her total crit damage instead of the 60% flat from before. I know it doesn't seem like much, but this was a pretty sizable buff, as Evernight can easily get over 300 crit damage in battle. You see what I'm getting at, right? This means that usually, 30% of her crit damage would end up being around 85 crit damage for the whole team, and this buff can even go over a 100% crit damage if she's very well built. I guess the V5 changes aim to balance this a little bit, with it going down to 24% of her crit damage, which is a small nerf, but likely won't end up changing much at all to her overall power level. Moving on to Dante, or you can call him Heng Permansor Terrae. He and his light cone received some final buffs, which in my opinion, definitely makes up for his V3 kit slaughter. This week, they further buffed his shield values across the board by a lot, and when I say a lot, I really do mean quite a lot. This is actually an even bigger boost to his sustain capabilities than he had in V1, which is definitely kind of insane, and I would say that he is already one of the most comfortable sustains in the entire game. I know a lot of you guys are a bit greedy though, and if the number buffs weren't enough for you, well, they also added a new effect to his talent, which now grants the lowest HP ally on the team a bonus shield whenever his summon takes action. If you combine this with last week's positive changes to his damage and base stats, he definitely got a pretty sizable buff overall. I would say that this is quite literally the best possible scenario for Heng, other than the scenario where they just reverted him back to V2. Overall, his damage is strong, his sustain is great, and since he's free, it doesn't really feel that bad to get his light cone, right? Well, speaking of light cone, it was also buffed quite a lot. Basically, since we all know that his sustain and damage is both scaled off attack, buffing his light cone to give 64% attack instead of 24% is a really big change that affects literally everything in his kit. The drawback though is that the shield effect buff has been removed, but trust me, this isn't a big deal at all and barely matters, as everything else that scales off attack in his kit being buffed is a much better trade-off. Welp, there it is. That's all the changes that were made in today's update. All in all, both of these characters are really strong right now, and considering how shaky both of them looked in V1 and V3, I'm really excited to say that they ended up well, and I think on release, they'll both be some of the best characters in the game. This is all for this beta though, so I imagine things are basically finalized here, but if anything does update, I'll let you guys know in the pinned comment or in another video. Also, I didn't mention it before as it gets annoying, but if you liked the video, then do consider subscribing as well. With that being said, I will see you in another one.